Alright, so you want to get into mobile filmmaking. I'm going to teach you how to get your videos from looking like this. Whoa! Whoa! to looking something like this. Alright, before we get started talking about camera movement, we actually have to talk about camera settings. So head over to your settings and go over to your camera menu and find formats over here, and then make sure that Apple ProRes is enabled. And once you've enabled Apple ProRes, head over to your camera and you should see there's a ProRes lock option on top. Simply enable it and look at that, everything looks very hazy, very muted and grey. Now, I'm recording in 4K 30 frames per second, and we are mostly gonna use the 1x camera, but we can also switch around to the 0.5x and the telephoto 2x camera. Make sure you stay till the end of this video to learn how to color grade these ProRes lock clips. I'll be briefly teaching you how to color grade them and making them look very cinematic. But this video is more focused on the camera movement and not color grading. If you want to see a whole separate video going in depth on how to color grade ProRes lock videos, check out this video over here. With that being said, let's get to our first shot. Okay, for the first shot is a dolly movement. We're gonna basically introduce our scene and show the whole entire landscape. Is to establish a shot and start the story or any sort of sequence that you want. It's mostly a wide shot. So go to your camera and over here you can see it is of course recording in ProRes lock, so everything is very grayed out. I'm going to be using I think the 1x will do for this, and then we'll start recording. And what a lot of people usually do is, they just pan and show the environment that they're in. It's very amateur. We want to try something a little bit more professional. So what we can do is bend our knees and just slowly start walking forward like this. And what that allows you to do is, you get this really stable shot. And there we go. That is the dolly in, dolly out shot. You can try it with a dolly in, or you can try it with a dolly out as well. And it will look even better if we have a subject in frame. Center the model of the frame in the frame like this and start recording. Alright, and can you please walk? And just like this, bend your knees and continue walking forward, keeping the shot as stable as possible, and keep your model in the center just like that. Okay, so for the next shot, we'll be using a foreground to reveal a subject. So in this case, we'll be using this tree over here as foreground. So you can see on the screen, it looks a little something like this. But the only issue is that it's not very dramatic because it is a very wide angle shot. And if you look over here, the clock tower behind is actually quite far away. It doesn't feel very drastic. So what we can do is we can actually switch it to 2x. And over here, look at that. Instantly, it feels as if the tree is way closer to us than it is. So for here, let's start recording. Lock in the focus onto the clock tower and pan out just like this. And that is how you can reveal a certain subject or location. It just creates this very dynamic and dramatic movement like that. Alright, so for the next shot is a side tracking shot, and basically we are tracking the model from the side, but do not walk sideways like this because it will just create a very awkward jitter as it will just shake the camera a lot more when you're walking. So what you have to do is actually walk forward. So continue walking forward, but have your phone to the side like this. So your eyes are peeping in from the side and tracking the model walking forward. So I'm gonna have my camera at 1x, start recording, and the moment we're ready, we'll ask the model to move with us. Ready and go. And just like that, realize that we're using the tree as sort of a foreground, and that just looks so much more cinematic. And that is the side tracking shot. Okay, so for the next shot, it's called the push past shot, and basically we'll be using a foreground such as a leaf, a branch, a gate, a railing, any sort of item in front. It's sort of like the previous one with the foreground, but this time we have to push past it, creating more of a dramatic movement. Okay, so I have my model right in front of me and she's going to be pretending to be using the camera. So the moment I push towards you, use the camera, but not at me. Maybe try to take a photo on something at the side. Yeah, correct. Ready and go. And that is how you get the push pass shot. Push pass shot. It works for and that is how we get the push pass shot. It actually works not just with leaves, you can do it with a gate, a railing, or some sort of a foreground that is behind. Another variation of the push pass shot is basically to have leaves in front of you before you reveal sort of a very nice, beautiful landscape. So we're going to use these leaves specifically over here, start recording, and I'm going to be using the 0.5 times camera because it is a very wide landscape shot. Let's go like this, have it in frame, and we simply push past it, revealing the very beautiful landscape that we have in front of us. Let's try this one more time. We go like that. And there we go. That is how we get this very dynamic movement shot. And the reason why it looks so good is because it's moving past the camera at a very quick speed. So it gives the illusion that more is going on when in fact it's a very simple camera shot. Okay, so for this next shot, I'll be cheating a little. I'll be using this selfie stick tripod over here. Extend it all the way and then use the 0.5 times camera and start recording. Now have your phone upside down. Okay, start off by having the phone very close to the ground like this and then start walking. And at the very end, lift the phone up, revealing the very beautiful landscape you have over here. And there you go. That is how you get this very nice, dynamic ground sweeping shot. We're effectively using the ground as foreground to reveal our subject. Alright, for the next shot, it's called frame within a frame, and basically you position your model within a frame. So in this case, we have this very beautiful model and very beautiful sort of an arc over here. So in this case, we're going to switch our phone to 0.5 times because it is a relatively wide surrounding. So we'll switch to 0.5, position our model in the center, start recording, and then move. And look at how beautiful that is. You can see the whole arc just sweeping past the frame like that, while the model is positioned in the center. It just creates for this very dynamic and beautiful shot. Okay, so for this next shot is to have an object come into focus. Now you can only do this with like higher end mirrorless cameras in the past, but ever since phone cameras have gotten better, you could actually get a lot of depth of field when you're closely focused on a subject. So let me show you how it looks like. So I have your camera on the 1x lens. Don't use the 0.5 lens because you won't get a lot of depth of field for that. So have it at 1 times and then lock the focus just like this. So long press, lock it in, and then start recording. So now you have the object in focus, move out. So you're starting with a blur and then slowly going in, having the object come into focus like this. Let's try this one more time. Have it blurred out and then slowly come into focus like this. Alright, and now for this shot, it's called the orbit shot. So basically you're orbiting around an object, and in this case we're using this very beautiful statue over here. Since it is a pretty constrained space, we're going to switch to 0.5 times and start recording. So what we're going to do is walk around the object and be as stable as possible. So we're going to go like this and walk like that. Just like this. We're keeping the object in the center, very beautiful, just like this. And that wraps up the 8 camera movements you can do with any phone. But the real magic comes when we piece them together in editing. Color grading them, adding music, sound design, transitions, these are all what ties the shots we have together. With that being said, let's head back to the studio and see what we can cook up. Alright, and now we are back in the studio. I hope my lighting is okay. Now let's get to editing these ProRes log clips. Okay, so usually what I would do when I first start my whole project is bring all of the clips in and assemble them. So I've already done you the favor of trimming them up into these shots that I like. So first of all, I started off with this shot, right? It's the ground sweeping one. And then we have this clock tower one. And then it's my girlfriend, the beautiful model, walking. And then this is the side shot of her walking. And the idea for this one is to transition with a mask transition, which you'll see how to create that later on. And then we have this one, this one, and of course I'm doing like a little match cut to this one as well. We'll add a transition later on, maybe like a lens flare or something. This is the come into focus one, and then we have the orbit of my girlfriend and another orbit, and it ends off with this shot because I just feel like it ties everything together. Okay, so my color grading process is relatively simple. Let's just create a new adjustment layer first and drag it on top like this. So what I do is I drag the adjustment layer to cover everything first. We will trim it up and duplicate them later on, but right now all we have to do is convert this into a decently color accurate look first. So we do need a conversion LUT. So head over to the first adjustment layer and go to Lumetri color, and over here go to creative. You could use basic correction, but I prefer using creative, and go to look, browse, and we are going to browse for a LUT that I have. If you want this LUT, I'll give it for free. It is a conversion LUT that I came up with, tuning it to my own liking. If that's something that you're interested in, you could download this LUT absolutely for free down in the description below. So let's check it out. Look at that! It already changes this to a relatively normal looking image. These are what the shots look like right now, and some of them are darker than the others. Some are a little bit too overexposed, so we will fix all of that in a moment. So let me just create one more adjustment layer first. So over on this one, what you have to do is hold down Option and then drag it down. Okay, so of course it looks horrible right now, but give me a moment. So on the top one, what you have to do is click rename and just change it to conversion layer, just so you know what is going on. And also I like to change the color to brown. Head over to the bottom one, and then what you have to do is look, because it looks like this because now both of them have this Apple ProRes lock one. What you have to do is just reset it over here, and there we go. Now it's reset, so this is an empty layer. This will be the layer we do our color correction. So basically, now we can go to basic correction and do whatever color correction we want. But of course, we are affecting every single shot that we have. So let me undo this first. So what I like to do is just press C and just do a little trim up. There are better ways, but let's just do this one. And while you're at it, actually, you could also just trim up the top one for consistency's sake. Is this the best way? Absolutely not. Am I a professional color grader? Absolutely not as well. I am just sharing what I know, okay? So head to the first clip, and now every single clip that you color correct can actually just affect that one clip. So go to this bottom layer and then do whatever color correction you need. So for example, this shot is a bit too dark, so I like to brighten it up just slightly. And I do like to push it slightly towards orange a little bit. It just gives a bit more of this sunset vibe to it that I really like. But what I do realize can really help, and what I do realize the iPhone footage does, is that the highlights always seem to be a little bit too harsh for me. So you can play around with the highlights as well as the whites. So these two things specifically just adds a bit more of a toned down look. So what I like to do is I reduce the highlights by a little bit and I increase the exposure, because the exposure is increasing the overall exposure of the image, which is fine. Either that, or you could increase the shadows instead to compensate for the lack of highlights. But I do like to crush the highlights a little bit more. And I would also go over to the curve section and just drop the center midtones down slightly like this. Alright? And over on the creative tab, I would always boost the vibrance up a little. I do feel like the saturation makes it look over processed. So what I like to do is I like to head over to vibrance and just boost it up a little bit. Basically do the same thing for every single one. The exposure just a little bit. Increase the contrast. If you look at the tree branch, it is affecting that quite a lot. Highlights would drop just a little bit. The temperature can go up slightly. And for the curves, maybe we could boost the shadows. So this is what it looks like before, and this is what it looks like after. Much better. If you do want to just build off of the first one, what you could do is head over to the previous one and go to the Effects Control tab, Lumetri Color, click Command C, and then go over to this one and click Command V. And you can just build off of this one as well and just go like this before, right? So much better. Okay, now the next one, let's paste it in. Oh, okay, it looks pretty good already. Let's go to the next one. Let's paste it. Okay, looks pretty pretty okay. Exposure, and let's drop the highlights down, drop the shadows, and I think most importantly, we have to boost the saturation and the vibrance just a little bit to bring the colors back, because it is a little bit washed out for this one. Okay, that looks a lot better now, actually. Let's drop the color correction in, and oh, okay, this looks pretty good. Okay, this one is definitely a bit underexposed. Let's drop the color correction in and maybe boost the midtones up slightly. I would drop the highlights down a little bit to bring back some detail. Contrast can go up and the exposure just slightly. Alright, this one, oh, this is definitely my favorite shot, but I do feel like it has a lot of work to be done. Let's drop it in first. Oh, there we go. It lifts the shadows up a lot more. So I'll boost the vibrance and the saturation just a little bit. Okay, the highlights look like it's clipping quite a bit. Drop the highlights down manually. Look at that. Oh, the dynamic range on the iPhone is so impressive. I love it so much, okay? Boom, bidi bang. Okay, this looks good. Next one, and very good. So now that we are done with this layer, the last layer we need is just one on top. So let's, same thing, click on this one and press Option, bring it on top, and then clear away whatever settings we have. So now this is a plain adjustment layer. Then on this one, to not confuse everybody, let's change it to green and rename it to LUT. L-U-T. So this is sort of the preset that we'll be using. Over on this one, we could just drag out to the entire thing. Alright, okay, so now we need a LUT to create a look, and my favorite place to go is today's sponsor, Motion Array. So grab your black coffee and your nuts, and let's buckle up for an editing session. Alright, unless you've been living under a rock, you should know what Motion Array is. Motion Array is an all-in-one platform which you can get different editing assets inside, like templates, presets, motion graphics, and in this case, LUTs. There's a new LUTs tab where you can just find all the LUTs that you would ever need. It's like a free flow buffet. It's insane. Look at this. Sunset Warm Tone LUT Pack. Oh my god, we can just preview and look at what we need. Ooh, Warm Cinematic LUTs. Okay. Retro LUTs Pack. Okay. Huh. Ooh, this looks pretty good. Let's try this pack, the Retro LUTs. Okay, let's download it and you can see how it works as well. It downloads very quickly over here, and we can open up the zip file and drag it into our LUTs folder that we have. So this is my own personal folder. Let's take a look. There we go. We have all these retro LUTs for us to use. Head over back to Premiere Pro on our LUTs tab. Let's find a reference image. In this case, I'm using this orbiting shot of my girlfriend. And let's hit to Creative, Look, and Browse. Now, very simply find the folder. And there we go. We have number 1 to number 10. Let's try number 1 first. Ah, interesting, but it does feel a little bit too over-processed and retro. Too retro for me. Oh, this looks definitely way better. It plays a lot more with the greens. You can see it mutes the greens a lot more, which I love. I hate when the greens look over-processed. Now, over here, let's go back to every individual shot. We can actually trim them up first, like this. So we're doing exactly the same thing as before, and so now all of them have this rainbow cake layers. Alright, now on the first clip, what we can do is play around with the intensity of the LUT that we have. So for example, this is definitely too much. Look at how crushed the shadows are. Let's lower the intensity and slowly bring it up like that. And also the beauty of this 3-layer system is that we can still go back to adjustment layer and very simply play back and adjust whatever that we need. So for example, the shadows are a little bit too crushed. So let's bring back up the shadows a little bit more. So we are sort of still correcting whatever that we have done just now, because we of course didn't know how the LUTs would affect the footage, right? So let's drop it down a notch and maybe go back to the adjustment layer and bring up the shadows from before, like this. And also reduce the contrast. It's a little bit too much. There we go. So much cleaner and nicer. Alright, now let's move on to music and sound design, as well as adding transitions in. As you guys know, I love Motion Array, but just going back and forth from Premiere Pro to the website is a little bit tedious. So you can actually use this Motion Array extension over here, And this is basically an extension you can download from Motion Array and open it inside your own Premiere Pro setup. It's very, very convenient. Look at this. We can actually head over and find Premiere Pro templates, motion graphic templates, stock video, photos, motion graphics, royalty-free music and sound effects. So let's head to royalty-free music and simply search for something along the lines of nature, because it is a nature-based video. Okay, this one sounds pretty good. Okay, let's see. Long Way Home is pretty good. Let's just download it. Now the craziest part about this is that it appears instantly inside your project tab over here. Look at this. It's now over here, Long Way Home. And there's like different versions you can choose from. The longest one over here. There we go. Trim it up as well. There we go. We have it over here just like that. Lower the volume slightly. Look at that. It's pretty sick. Now I do want to add a bit of ambient sound, so what you can also do is head over to sound effects, and exactly the same, we can search for nature and look at different sound effects that we have over here. Okay, this one sounds pretty calm, pretty nice. Let's download it as well. Alright, and we have it over here, and we can simply drag it in, layering below like this. Okay, now to really blend these two in, what we can do is just head over to Premiere Pro templates or presets. Okay, let's search for film burn. Let's take a look at this one. Ooh, okay, this one looks pretty simple and quick. Okay, let's download this one and let's see what it looks like. It should automatically show up over here. Look, light transitions preset. Okay, let's drag it to our desktop, and over here we can simply import preset and click on light transition, and very quickly we have it over here, light transition 01. Now what we have to do is now create an adjustment layer over here in between the transition points of both the clips that we have, and simply now drag in the light transition. Ooh, look at that. Oh, this looks so seamless. Oh my god, this works so much better than I expected. There we go. Now we have a very quick and seamless transition between both shots. Okay, I did want to create a mask transition, which is an extra step, but I am going to teach you how to do it regardless. Now over here, what we can do is mask this shot to the next shot, which is this shot. So I feel like it would look pretty good because they are going in the same direction. So I'm going to grab all of this and nest it over here, like that. Okay, now bring the nest all the way up and drag all of these below the nested one. Now I'll explain why later on, but basically it's because we need this to be below the first shot. Okay, now what we have to do is just head over to the first frame where something from the right side is revealed. So over here there's a hole, and over here we can just click on the pen tool and draw a very simple mask. Now the key is to not make too many points because we don't want it to be very complicated. Okay, now it is like this, so we have to invert it so that now if you look at it, it's black, right? Because there's nothing below. So putting this directly below will now create a window. It's black simply because you're cutting out a hole. So now this is technically a hole in your image. But let's shift this towards the right for now because I do want to see where the hole is. That way it's easier for me to mask out. Okay, we can play around with different aspects as well. So for example, the feather, opacity, expansion, and the path. The path is basically the shape of the mask. So click on the keyframe icon for all of them. And of course over here, I do feel like we can feather it out and expand it slightly. Okay, there we go. So this is the first frame that we have. We have to do this frame by frame all the way till the entire tree passes. So let's head over to the second frame. So arrow to the right, and we have the second frame. Now, you could either just play with the mask path, which is just to adjust the mask like this. This is the quickest and easiest way to do it, like that. Okay, and over here, you can just expand this out all the way to the right because it doesn't really matter. We're just cutting out a hole. And there we go. This is the second one. Create all the keyframes as well. Make sure to remember clicking those keyframes because what you're doing is you're creating a new keyframe. This is the previous one. It goes to the next one, and then the next one is now empty. Again, like we have to now crop it in even more. And you could either shift this like this, or you could actually remove the entire mask and just push it forward like that. And then create the keyframe again. And then go to the next one and then create the keyframe again as well. So just keep doing this all the way till we are done. What I like to do is I like to cheat a little. So what I do is I go like a few frames forward. So let's, instead of 1 frame, which is the best way, you can go like 6 frames and then shift it forward as well. So it is a little bit faster if you do that. Just remember to hit the keyframes, because if not, you do have to redo quite a lot of things. Like this, hit the keyframes. Let me just quickly run through this, alright? Like that. So what we are doing is just revealing what's beneath the clip, which in this case is nothing. It's black. Like that. And drag it forward. Like this. Drag it forward. We are almost done. There we go. That's the last frame. And we are done with our mask. Now, the magic comes. So I'll show you how it looks like first, but it looks like this. Look at that. So it's just like it's going into nothing, right? And the magic comes the moment you drag this layer all the way below, like this. Look at that. Oh, that looks so beautiful. Look at that. Damn, that is so cool. Okay. Now, do realize that the first frame is over here, and if you go back 1 frame, it is still technically cut out for some reason. So what we have to do is create the very first frame again, hit mask, and then drag this away, because this isn't supposed to cut off anything yet. And there we have it. That is how I edit and color grade my videos. Of course, it is a very simple tutorial. You could also finesse this a little bit more and add better sound design, better music as well, and also color grade better yourself as well. You could also do more manual adjustments, but in the grand scheme of things, this is how I do it. It's a lot more simple than you think, and I do hope this video helps you in some way, shape or form. Of course, once again, thank you Motionary for sponsoring this video. I hope this sponsored segment isn't something that is very dry and bland, because I am integrating it with the way I work with my videos as well. Motionary has been a long-time supporter of this channel, and I'm absolutely grateful to them. And I'm absolutely grateful to you guys as well for tuning in and watching my videos. It really warms my heart and I appreciate it so much. By the way, we're also at over 2,000 subscribers. It's absolutely blowing my mind, because I would have never thought that this would have been possible. And also, we are also hitting almost 4,000 watch hours. We're currently right now at 3,851. Insane, because after I hit 4,000, we could actually monetize this channel and create more videos for you guys to watch. Alright, so if you want to support along my journey, please leave me a like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate every single bit of help I can get. Alright, with that being said, this is DDT signing off.